Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another painting tutorial of this painting of a little couple strolling along the street in Paris. There's actually a time-lapse video. That was my first ever video on my YouTube channel of this painting. So I recreated it today and I'm going to take you step by step so that you can follow along and do this with your friends and create this beautiful Paris painting. Alright, so for this painting the first two colors that we will be using are black and white. Pretty simple. And like I said before, all of these paints we got at the dollar store. Paintbrushes we're using, dollar store. Just goes to show you that you can use cheaper materials to still have fun and still learn how to do some painting. So I'm going to put some of this black and white onto my palette here. Just a note that if you're ever painting with black, black is pretty potent, and so we probably won't need a ton of it. We're going to need more white. Alright, so we're going to be starting with the big brush, and we're going to be doing in the background first and working our way to the foreground. So with the background, we're going to be doing quite long strokes, vertical, down to about a third of the way up, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to get some of that white on my brush. And then just grab a little bit of black just to test it out. And then really just move your way left to right. Covering the canvas. And it's okay if it kind of goes a little bit of a uniform gray right now. We're going to add in some highlights after. Okay, so we got it covered. Now what I'm going to do is we want the middle to be lighter than the outsides. So I just grabbed a little bit of black on the end there. We're just going to brush that in here. Just so it adds a little bit of texture to it. Same on the other side. And since this is more of an impressionistic, abstract, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the best part about it. I'm going to do that same thing but with some white in the middle here. Alright, I think we're just going to leave it like that. If you want to add any little bits in, maybe a little bit right up here, just kind of put it in. But as you can see, it's darker on the outside, lighter on the inside. Alright, so where we stopped there, now we want to do almost that exact same thing, but we're going to go horizontal. So I need a bit more white. Just going to grab some more white. Alright, so almost that exact same thing, but we are going horizontal. And when we're done this, the whole canvas should be covered with something. And then we're going to do kind of the same idea, just add a little bit of black, different spots. Alright, so there's the basics of it. The next step that we want to add in is the tower. So I'm just going to wash off this brush because we're done with it for a minute. I've got a mason jar full of water. I like it because then I can put a lid back on it. If I don't have an extremely stable surface, then I know it won't spill. I've just got some rags to dry it off here. Alright, so put that brush to the side. Now I'm going to use this brush. The reason we're using this brush is because it's nice and thin, and so we can use it to get the nice thin part of the tower. And so still using that black and white, I'm just going to bring a little bit of each over here, mix it together. It's going to kind of be a darker gray. And we're going to want to find about the middle of the canvas. So I'm going to say about here, and just about at the top, that's where we're going to start that tower. And I'm going to start right at the top with the little spire, and then add in the top of it, and then get a bit more white into that mixture, and then I'm just going to work my way down. On each side, and notice that it's not perfect. But that's the whole point of this painting, that it doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to bring down these sides into there. Eventually the bottoms of it here will be covered up, and so I'm actually just going to stop right there and then bring it up on the other side. I'm a little bit off-centered, and that's okay. And then there's a little part in the middle that comes across too. And back down on this side. Alright, that's the basics of the tower. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get a little bit of darker gray. We're going to add some texture into this, and we're just going to press down into it at different spots. Just to give it a bit of texture. And that same thing with a lighter gray. you'll have to use a little bit more paint, and that's really to get that texture to make it stand out. Alright, so there's our tower. If you want to add a little bit of dark highlight in there, feel welcome to. Alright, so we're done with this brush for a tiny bit again, so I'm going to wash it off. Alright, back to the big brush. Now we're going to add in some buildings coming in from the sides. And so the buildings from the top will be about a third of the way down, and they'll be just under a third of the, starting at just under a third of the way down here. And they're going to come in just around the tower there. And so here, you want the buildings to be a little bit darker than anything that we've done so far, but still with a gray. So just added a bit more black to that mixture. And so I actually made a little mark here where I'm a third of the way down. So that's where I'm going to start. And a couple inches up here. So that's where I know where to start. And same with on this side. Okay. Alright, so we'll take that gray, and it's going to come down quite a ways to give it that depth effect. So I'm just first going to draw that in here. And we're going to have this come down right to about there. And same for this side. It's going to be coming down to about right here and come back up to there, and coming down that way. And this way. Alright, now get a lot more paint, and we're just going to go up and down here, vertical wise. Alright, then just as we did with the top, we're going to add in some dark and light highlights. So I'm going to start with lighter ones because it already is so dark. Alright, there's some simple buildings so far. We're finished with this brush now for a little bit, so we can wash that one off again. The reason we wash it off every time is just so the paint doesn't dry inside of it, because then it makes it really hard to get out, or you just have to throw it out. Alright, we'll be going back to this brush. Still sticking with the black and white just a tiny bit longer. Just on top of the buildings to add a little bit of texture, taking some of that gray, and we're just going to be dabbing some in around the top here. It can be a mixture of medium to dark to light. And we're going to do that same thing just at the bottom of the tower here, but make them a little bit more vertical. And so this is where we're just going to dab these in here. So I'm starting with darker, and then I'll add in some lighter ones. Alright, so we're done with black and white for the moment, so I'm going to wash this off. And then we're going to put some red and yellow onto our palettes. We got a red and we got a yellow. So we are going to want both red and yellow, and we're going to want some orange, so we're going to mix a little bit of the two together. I like to use a palette knife to mix them together. Makes it easy to move it around. Alright, so just off to the side of that I made some yellow, or some orange. So we'll take this small brush, and this is where we're going to add in some windows and some doorways into these buildings. And so the further away windows back here and doors, those ones are going to be smaller in comparison to the sizes of the windows and doors in the front, just to really help with that perspective of going down the street. So I'm going to start with some red. Got some red on my brush. I'm going to start in the front here. You can start wherever. And we're just going to put some on and bring it over. With these you might have to do a layer or two, as the paint might not. It might become a little bit transparent because underneath it might still be a little bit wet, but that's totally okay. And we're going to bring in, there's going to be a little doorway right here. And so I'm just going to frame this in with this red. We're going to have to go back over it anyways, but if you can get a layer on it to start, that always helps. Alright, so still sticking with that red, then we're going to add a few a little further back. We are going to be using other colors for windows. This is just the red right now. And at the very end, we'll add just a small one there. And maybe one up there. And if you do want to frame in the other doors, you can do that too. So we're going to have one more about here. Alright, so there's basics of a red. Now we're going to add in some yellow or orange. I'll grab some orange. I'm going to add in an orange window here. A smaller one there. And if you want one at the back too. Same with this side. Add a bigger one in there. This one's gonna have to be double layered, but that's okay. One there, and maybe one at the Back. And we'll do that same thing but with yellow. Alright, so now to finish off the doors, we're going to want to add some orange and yellow kind of into there, over top. And so I just grabbed some orange. There's still some yellow on my brush, but that's okay. I'm just kind of blotting it in. It doesn't really have to be perfect in any way. Because this is just representing the light from the building coming out onto the street. I'll go back and add some more red into there in just a minute. And then I'll add some red along the bottom. Alright, now we want, since it's a rainy day and there's going to be some water on the sidewalk here, we want to make a little reflection of all those doors kind of down onto the sidewalk. I'm going to rinse off my brush because there's a little bit of orange, red, and yellow all up in it. Dry it off a bit here. So I'm going to start with red. Just have a bit on the end of the brush, and we're just going to lightly go back and forth sideways in front of this door. Since this one goes off the side of the canvas, we're going to go right off the side with it too. And since it is the biggest and up front, it's going to come down a ways. That's the first layer. We're going to do that with each of these, and we'll go back and add a little bit of other colors into it as well. Alright, so now we'll go back and add some orange in there, and then a little bit of yellow over top. And then if we need to, we can add a bit more red just to touch up the red. Alright, so there's the doors. Now what we're going to want to do is add in some awnings. So I'm going to wash this off again. The awnings are going to be a turquoise color. And so, got some turquoise here. So the awnings are just going to be going above the doorways, just kind of at a slant inwards on both sides. So I've got quite a bit on my brush. It's okay if it mixes in a little bit with what's around it, because that just gives it a little bit of texture. Now we're going to go back to black, and we're going to add in a couple trees right here. And so just with pure black, that's all you need. Same brush. I'm gonna add this one in about right here. And since it's a tree, no trees grow exactly the same. So kind of make it however you'd like. Alright, then in front of the trees we're going to want to add a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to take some gray. And we're just going to kind of, like we did with the ones in front of the doors, just kind of run it down in front of the trees a little bit. Those are a little bit light, so I just added a bit of black to it. And ran that down a bit. Alright, for the leaves, we're just going to take, I just had a glob of white on the side, and a glob of black. And I'm literally just dabbing those in rectangular. Like. Alright, now we're going to add some people. So for these people I'm going to get a little bit of a finer brush. Alright, so I have some black on it. So these people at the back are going to be quite small, and since this is an impressionistic painting, they don't need to be perfect, they just need to be human shape. Alright, so there's some people on the street. Now we need to add our two main ones right up in front here. So for the guy, we'll add his head right about there. And then the girl will be right beside him here. I'm just going to wipe this brush off. I'm not going to rinse it all the way off. She is wearing mostly red, so that's why I'm just switching over to red now. She'll have a little red hat on. And he'll be wearing a little red scarf. And then of course they will be having an umbrella like the rest of everybody there. We'll throw some orange on that as well. And maybe a double of yellow. Alright, just rinsed that brush out a little bit. Taking some pure white. Adding that into her clothes. Getting a bit more black. And then again a little bit of white. So I hope you enjoyed following this tutorial with me today. If you did go through the whole process, post your photo down in the comments. I'd love to see your results. Make sure you click on the button that follows, that you'll be able to watch the time lapse. My first video that I posted on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next tutorial. And we'll see you next time on Brian Sloan Artist.